You ever notice how sometimes a woman doesn't say much, but you feel like something's going on? She's quieter, her responses change, her attention shifts just a little, and suddenly, you're second guessing yourself. Most men don't realize this, but in moments like that, she's testing you. Not out of manipulation or malice, but because women are naturally drawn to emotional awareness. They want to see if the man they're interested in can handle pressure with calmness, or if he unravels when things feel uncertain. In today's world, that kind of emotional composure is becoming rare. A lot of men are struggling silently with self-doubt, burnout, loneliness, and a constant feeling of never being enough. Social media doesn't help. It bombards you with images of perfect relationships, successful men, and unrealistic standards. Psychologically, this creates a loop of comparison that eats away at confidence and self-worth. You start thinking your value depends on how others see you instead of how grounded you are within yourself. But here's the truth. Real strength doesn't come from chasing validation. It comes from being centered no matter what's happening around you. A woman feels that energy. When you're emotionally stable, when you don't react to every test or change in tone, you're showing quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to prove anything. That's what earns respect and attraction naturally. So if you ever feel like she's testing you, pause, breathe. Don't rush to fix, explain, or prove. Get back to your center. Take care of your body, stay consistent with your goals, and build a lifestyle that keeps your mind strong and your emotions balanced. Because when you're solid within yourself, you don't just pass her tests, you stop needing to. When a woman tests you, it's rarely about the surface level situation. It's not about the text she didn't reply to, the sarcastic comment she made, or the sudden emotional distance. What she's really looking for, consciously or not, is your ability to stay calm and consistent under pressure. She wants to know that your confidence isn't fragile, that your sense of self isn't dependent on her reactions. This is what it means when we say women test emotional stability, not perfection. They're not searching for a flawless man who never makes mistakes or feels emotions. They're drawn to a man who knows how to regulate himself when emotions rise, who doesn't lose his center every time things get uncertain. From a psychological perspective, this instinct comes from something deeply wired in human nature. Women are emotional creatures by design. They connect through feelings, subtle cues, and emotional energy. A test isn't always deliberate. It's often subconscious. It's a way for her to see if your presence feels safe, if your energy remains stable when things get tense. Because deep down, emotional stability signals reliability, and reliability is deeply attractive. It tells her that if life throws challenges, you'll still stand tall, still lead, still make decisions from a place of calm. That's what creates trust, and without trust, attraction fades no matter how good you look or how successful you are. But most men take these moments personally. When a woman pulls back, acts distant, or questions something you've done, many men react instantly. They over-explain, chase reassurance, or get defensive. It's a natural response, but it communicates insecurity. It shows that your emotions are being controlled by hers, that you're reacting instead of leading. In that moment, she feels that shift. Your energy changes from grounded to needy, from confident to anxious. And that's when attraction begins to slip away. Not because you're a bad guy, but because the dynamic changes. You move from being the calm anchor to being swept away by the storm. Emotional stability isn't about pretending you don't care. It's about feeling everything fully but responding with awareness instead of impulse. It's knowing that your value doesn't rise or fall based on how someone else treats you. It's the difference between a man who panics when things don't go his way and a man who pauses, reflects, and stays composed. A woman can sense that energy immediately. When you're emotionally grounded, your tone of voice stays even, your body language remains relaxed, your decisions stay aligned with your values. You're not controlled by your environment, you influence it. Psychologists talk about emotional regulation as one of the key signs of maturity. It's the ability to notice your emotional triggers without letting them dictate your behavior. For men, mastering this is crucial, not just for relationships, but for life. When you learn to stay calm under stress, you make better decisions, communicate more clearly, and command more respect. Emotional regulation doesn't mean suppression. It doesn't mean you never feel anger, disappointment, or hurt. It means you process those emotions in a healthy way, through awareness, reflection, and action, not reaction. When a woman tests you, it's your chance to demonstrate that maturity, not through words, but through your energy. Consider this example. You're on a date, and she suddenly goes quiet. She seems distant, distracted, or even cold. The insecure man starts worrying immediately. Did I say something wrong? Is she losing interest? Should I try to make her laugh again? That anxious energy shows through instantly, and she feels it. The emotionally stable man, on the other hand, doesn't rush to fill the silence. He stays comfortable, maintains his calm, maybe asks one gentle question, and if she doesn't engage, he simply continues being himself. His mood doesn't shift just because hers did. That subtle difference is powerful. It communicates that he's not dependent on her emotional state for validation. He's already validated within himself. Emotional stability also means embracing uncertainty. Relationships, attraction, and communication are full of unknowns. You can't control how someone feels about you, and trying to control it only creates tension. The stable man understands that his worth isn't defined by anyone's temporary feelings. He focuses on what he can control: his mindset, his habits, his reactions. That focus creates peace, and peace is magnetic. When a woman feels peace around you, she feels safe, and when she feels safe, she opens up more deeply. The paradox is that by not trying to pass every test, you actually do. Now, Let's talk about what these tests look like in real life. Sometimes they're direct. She might challenge your opinion, tease you, or question your intentions. Other times, they're subtle. She might cancel plans, delay responses, or seem distant after a moment of vulnerability. In each case, the real test isn't about what she says, it's about how you handle the uncertainty. If you get angry or overly reactive, you fail the emotional test. If you detach and stop caring completely, you fail another kind of test, the one for emotional availability. Passing the test is about balance. It's staying present and grounded without losing empathy or connection. This balance is what modern masculinity often overlooks. So many men are either too emotionally closed off or too emotionally dependent. The emotionally closed man suppresses everything. He avoids vulnerability because he sees it as weakness. The emotionally dependent man overshares, overreacts, and constantly seeks validation. The emotionally stable man lives in the middle ground. He feels deeply but responds calmly. He's strong but kind, assertive but understanding. That's the energy women test for. Can you handle her complexity without crumbling or closing off? From a psychological standpoint, when a woman tests a man, she's trying to synchronize emotionally. She's feeling out the emotional temperature of the connection. Does your calmness help her feel secure, or does your reactivity make her feel more anxious? These micro moments build or break attraction. Emotional contagion theory even explains how emotions spread between people unconsciously. When you stay centered, she mirrors that calm. When you become anxious, she mirrors that too. This is why emotional leadership is so vital in masculine energy. It sets the tone of the connection. You don't have to be perfect to pass these tests. In fact, trying to be perfect is what causes many men to fail. Perfection creates pressure, and pressure leads to tension. What really matters is authenticity with emotional discipline. You can admit when you're upset, but you do it calmly. You can set boundaries without anger. You can disagree without disrespect. That balance communicates that you're in control of yourself. You're not trying to dominate, but you're also not being dominated by emotions. That's the emotional stability women crave because it feels like safety. Building that stability takes work. It comes from self-awareness. You have to start noticing how you react when things don't go your way. Do you become defensive, passive-aggressive, or withdrawn? Or do you take a breath, stay grounded, and respond thoughtfully? You can't fake emotional stability. You can only develop it by facing discomfort and learning to stay present through it. Meditation, journaling, physical exercise, and spending time alone all help you strengthen that muscle. These habits train your nervous system to handle emotional pressure without collapsing. Men who lack emotional stability often live on emotional autopilot. Their moods are dictated by external events. Their job, their relationship, or someone else's approval. They ride emotional highs when things go right and crash when things go wrong. That instability makes relationships chaotic because the woman never knows which version of him she's going to get. The stable man, on the other hand, is predictable in the best way. His emotional tone stays consistent. Even when life gets hard, his character doesn't shift. That consistency creates trust, and trust is the foundation of every healthy relationship. What's interesting is that emotional stability also enhances attraction in subtle ways. When you're calm and grounded, your body language is more confident. You speak slower, make steadier eye contact, and move with intention. You stop trying to impress and start expressing. That shift changes everything. A woman can feel that you're present, not distracted, not performing, just being. That's what draws her in, because in a world full of noise and insecurity, presence is rare. Even outside relationships, emotional stability determines how successful and fulfilled you become. In work, it helps you handle stress without burning out. In friendships, it helps you communicate clearly without drama. In personal growth, it allows you to face your weaknesses without shame. Emotional stability is the foundation for all self-improvement. When you master it, you stop being controlled by temporary emotions and start making decisions from a place of strength and clarity. A woman testing you is not your enemy, she's your mirror. She's reflecting back how stable you are within yourself. If you're easily shaken, her behavior will feel confusing and overwhelming. If you're grounded, you'll see her tests for what they are, moments that reveal character, not challenges to your ego. The more calm you become, the less you even notice the tests because you're not living to prove anything. You're simply being who you are, and that authenticity creates natural confidence. The real beauty of emotional stability is that it frees you. You're no longer controlled by approval or fear of loss. You can love deeply without attachment, care without chasing, and lead without dominating. You become the kind of man who's at peace within himself, and that peace draws everything you want closer. You start realizing that the more stable you are emotionally, the less you need to perform, persuade, or pretend. You attract from authenticity, not anxiety. And that's what every woman deep down is truly testing for. The ability to remain emotionally solid no matter what the situation looks like on the surface. True confidence isn't loud. It doesn't walk into a room needing to be seen. It doesn't chase approval, and it doesn't crumble under silence. True confidence is quiet because it's rooted in something deeper than validation. It's grounded in self-control and inner balance. Most men confuse confidence with dominance or ego, but the truth is, confidence isn't about control over others, it's about mastery over yourself. It's the discipline to remain calm when everything around you feels unstable, the ability to regulate your emotions instead of being ruled by them, and the understanding that your worth doesn't rise or fall based on anyone else's reaction. From a psychological standpoint, confidence is not just a mindset, it's a physiological state. When your nervous system is calm, your tone of voice, body language, and decision making all reflect strength. When your nervous system is dysregulated, when you're anxious, insecure, or fearful, it shows up in your behavior even if you try to hide it. People can sense it. That's why the most confident men don't need to talk about how confident they are. Their calmness communicates it for them. They move slowly, speak with intention, and radiate a sense of control that comes from within. And that inner stillness, that peace under pressure, is what women, colleagues, and friends feel drawn to because it represents safety and leadership in today's world, where distractions are endless and comparisons are constant. Staying balanced internally is one of the hardest things to do. Social media has turned validation into currency. A man can post a photo and within seconds receive approval or rejection in the form of likes and comments. That constant feedback loop trains the brain to seek external validation rather than internal grounding. Psychology calls this the hedonic treadmill, a cycle where you keep chasing satisfaction but never feel full because your sense of worth depends on temporary feedback. True confidence breaks that cycle. It's when you stop measuring yourself against other people's opinions and start measuring yourself against your own progress. Inner balance begins when you stop reacting and start responding. When someone criticizes you, when plans fall apart, or when you're rejected, your first instinct might be emotional. But the confident man doesn't let emotion lead. He lets awareness lead. He pauses, observes what's happening inside him, and chooses how to respond. That small gap between impulse and action is where maturity lives. It's the space where emotional control is built, and every time you use it, your confidence grows stronger. Because deep confidence doesn't come from success or validation. It comes from knowing you can handle discomfort without losing your sense of self. This is why confident men don't chase. They don't need to prove their value because they already know it. When a woman tests them, when someone disrespects them, or when life throws them challenges, they stay grounded. Their calmness becomes their strength. Psychologically, this triggers respect in others because calmness under stress signals control and reliability. It says, I can handle life, and that message spoken without words is one of the most powerful forms of communication. In relationships, that's what makes a woman feel emotionally safe. Your ability to stay composed, to stay kind, to stay yourself even when the situation isn't ideal. Self-control is not suppression. It's awareness in motion. It's knowing when to act, when to speak, and when to walk away. The man who has self-control doesn't waste his energy trying to control others. He channels it inward, toward his health, his goals, his growth. He doesn't respond to every provocation because he knows not every moment deserves a reaction. This kind of restraint builds power. In psychology, this is known as emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage your own emotions while also being aware of others. It's one of the strongest predictors of long-term success and satisfaction. Emotional intelligence allows you to be assertive without being aggressive, confident without being arrogant, and vulnerable without being weak. You see this clearly in social dynamics. A man who truly understands himself doesn't need to dominate a conversation to feel valuable. He listens, he observes, he contributes with intention. When others speak, he doesn't feel threatened. When silence falls, he doesn't rush to fill it. That quiet assurance comes from internal certainty. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being okay even when you don't. That's real confidence, the kind that doesn't disappear when life gets unpredictable. Most people mistake external boldness for confidence, but external boldness can be a disguise for insecurity. The louder someone needs to be about how sure they are, the less sure they usually feel inside from a psychological perspective. This connects to the concept of self-efficacy, belief in your own ability to influence outcomes through effort and persistence. It's not arrogance, it's self-trust. When you have high self-efficacy, you approach challenges with a calm belief that you'll figure it out. You don't need guarantees because you've built enough resilience to handle the unknown. And the only way to build that resilience is by facing adversity. Every time you survive a tough moment without losing control, you strengthen that inner muscle. Confidence grows from evidence. Evidence that you've been through chaos before and you can handle it again. Self-control and balance also affect how you carry yourself physically. The mind and body are deeply connected. A balanced man breathes slower, his shoulders are relaxed, his eyes are steady, and his movements are measured. His energy fills the room quietly, not forcefully. People can't always explain it, but they feel it. This is what psychologists call nonverbal dominance. It's not about intimidation, it's about presence. You don't need to demand attention when your energy naturally commands it, and that kind of confidence can't be faked because it's built through discipline. Discipline in your habits, your thoughts, your reactions. Every time you choose composure over chaos, you build that presence. A little more emotional balance also allows you to connect more deeply with others. When you're calm inside, you listen more fully. You're not waiting for your turn to speak or trying to impress, you're just present. People open up around that kind of energy because it's rare. Everyone is so busy performing that authenticity feels refreshing. When a man is centered, people feel they can trust him because his energy doesn't shift based on the situation. That consistency is the quiet backbone of real confidence. You can't develop it overnight. It comes from years of self-awareness, reflection, and emotional growth. It's a lifelong process of learning how to stay grounded no matter how life changes. In relationships, true confidence changes everything. When you're balanced, you stop reacting to every emotional wave. If your partner is upset, you don't take it personally, you give her space to process. If she pulls away, you don't panic. You focus on your own alignment. This doesn't mean indifference. It means emotional strength. You understand that love isn't about control. It's about connection, and connection only grows in emotional safety. When you're calm and self-assured, you create that safety. You become the grounding energy in the relationship, and that's what keeps the bond strong even during difficult times psychologically. Balance creates clarity. When you're centered, your decisions become cleaner because they're not fueled by fear or insecurity. You see people and situations more objectively. You stop needing outcomes to validate you. And that frees you from constant emotional highs and lows. Confidence becomes your baseline state rather than something you have to generate. And this internal steadiness changes how you experience life. You stop chasing moments of happiness and start cultivating peace. Peace doesn't come from everything going right. It comes from knowing you can handle it when things go wrong. A lot of men think they need external success to feel confident. Money, status, appearance. While those things can enhance your life, they can't replace inner balance. If your confidence depends on what you have, it will vanish when those things fade. But if it's built on who you are, nothing can take it away. That's why the most grounded men often seem the most content even when they have less. Their peace doesn't depend on possessions. It comes from alignment. They live in integrity with their values. They keep promises to themselves, and they don't need applause to feel worthy. That's the essence of confidence, self-trust earned through consistent action. To reach that state, you have to practice emotional accountability. You can't keep blaming the world, your past, or other people for how you feel. Confidence begins when you take ownership of your inner world. Every emotion is a message, not a command. Anger might be telling you something needs to change. Fear might be reminding you to prepare. Sadness might be guiding you to release. When you start interpreting emotions instead of reacting to them, you gain control. You stop being a slave to your moods and start using them as tools for growth. That's the difference between men who crumble under emotion and those who rise through it. Confidence and balance also thrive in discipline. The way you treat your body affects the way you think. Regular exercise, good nutrition, and proper sleep aren't just physical habits, they're emotional anchors. When your body feels strong, your mind follows. Your hormones regulate, your stress decreases, and your sense of control grows. Confidence isn't purely psychological, it's biological too. You can't expect to feel mentally stable if your lifestyle is chaotic. That's why men who take care of themselves physically often carry a quiet, unspoken authority. Their posture, their clarity, their tone, all of it reflects self-respect. You can't fake that. When you start living in balance, people notice the shift. You stop reacting to small things, your energy becomes lighter, and you start attracting situations that match your peace. Opportunities come easier because confidence creates momentum. You stop overthinking every interaction. You start trusting your instincts, and that flow makes you magnetic. The world responds differently to a man who's centered because he's not seeking anything from it. He's contributing his presence instead of asking for validation, and that's why balanced confidence is so powerful. It makes you independent of approval while still deeply connected to life even when you fail. True confidence remains. Because confidence built on control and inner balance doesn't disappear with mistakes. It grows through them. Each time you fall and recover, you teach yourself that failure isn't fatal, it's feedback. That mindset keeps you grounded in growth rather than shame. It allows you to move through life with humility and strength, not arrogance. And that humility, combined with composure, creates a presence that people respect naturally. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. It just is. The irony is that when you reach this level of balance, you stop even thinking about confidence as something to prove or pursue. It becomes your default. You're no longer trying to be confident, you're simply being yourself without fear. You trust your ability to adapt, to communicate, to stay centered. You're no longer in competition with others. You're in collaboration with yourself. And that's where real fulfillment begins, when your confidence is no longer conditional, when your self-worth no longer depends on approval, and when your mind and emotions work together instead of against each other. A grounded lifestyle builds lasting attraction and respect because it reflects consistency, emotional maturity, and strength that can be felt rather than spoken. It's the difference between someone who talks about being confident and someone who simply lives it every day. A grounded man doesn't depend on temporary highs, external approval, or fleeting emotions to feel complete. He builds his stability through structure, habits, values, and a mindset that keeps him balanced no matter how unpredictable life becomes. That stability becomes magnetic because it creates a sense of peace and safety in a world full of noise and chaos. People are naturally drawn to that kind of presence. They trust it, they respect it, and they want to be around it because it feels rare and real. Living grounded means understanding who you are beyond what you do or what others think of you. Most men chase validation through achievements, relationships, or status. They think once they have enough success or recognition, they'll finally feel secure. But that kind of confidence always comes with conditions. If your peace depends on what you achieve, it will disappear the moment things fall apart. A grounded lifestyle reverses that pattern. It starts from within and builds outward. You don't chase success to feel whole, you build yourself from the inside, and success becomes a reflection of that inner foundation. You move from living reactively to living intentionally. And that shift changes everything, from how you handle relationships to how you pursue goals. Grounded men operate from rhythm rather than impulse. They have habits that anchor them, morning routines that center their mind, fitness or meditation practices that strengthen their body and spirit, and time alone that helps them reflect and reset. These daily acts create mental order in a chaotic world. Psychology backs this up. Routine and structure increase a sense of control and reduce anxiety because they stabilize the nervous system. When your life has rhythm, you're less likely to be thrown off by sudden change. You become less reactive, more patient, and more observant. And this emotional steadiness is what people feel when they interact with you. It communicates self-respect without words. Women, in particular, sense this kind of energy instantly. A grounded man doesn't rush, doesn't overreact, and doesn't beg for attention. He's fully present. When he speaks, his words carry weight because they come from clarity, not insecurity. When he listens, he gives full attention instead of waiting for his turn to respond. That presence is powerful because it's becoming increasingly rare. In a world where everyone's attention is fragmented, the person who can stay centered holds natural authority. That's why grounded men inspire trust and respect effortlessly. They're not just physically attractive, they're emotionally magnetic. Being grounded doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being emotionally integrated. You can feel deeply without being controlled by those feelings. You can love someone passionately without losing yourself in the process. That's emotional independence, the ability to share your heart without sacrificing your peace. Psychologists describe this as secure attachment, a state where you connect without clinging, care without controlling, and love without losing your sense of identity. When you reach this level of maturity, relationships become calmer, more honest, and more fulfilling because they're not built on fear or need. They're built on genuine connection and mutual respect. A grounded lifestyle is not something that happens accidentally. It's built through discipline and self-awareness. It's the decision to take responsibility for your life rather than blaming circumstances or people. You start observing your triggers, your patterns, your tendencies to react instead of respond. You begin choosing environments and routines that support your growth instead of sabotage it. You spend time with people who elevate your mindset instead of drain your energy. You take care of your body not for appearance but for clarity and strength. Every small choice becomes a reflection of your inner stability. Over time, those choices create a lifestyle that radiates confidence without needing to perform it. Respect grows from consistency. Anyone can act confident for a moment, but it's the man who shows up with the same energy day after day that earns true respect. When people know they can depend on your word, your presence, and your emotional tone, they start to trust you. That's what grounded living looks like. You're reliable not because you're perfect, but because you're steady. You follow through on your promises, even when it's inconvenient. You manage your emotions without projecting them onto others. You take accountability when you make mistakes. That kind of stability builds character, and character builds influence. The more consistent you become, the more others naturally respect your boundaries and your time. Modern psychology often refers to this as self-regulation, the ability to manage your internal state regardless of external circumstances. It's one of the strongest indicators of emotional intelligence and long-term well-being. When you're grounded, your nervous system isn't easily hijacked by stress or insecurity. You can think clearly even under pressure, and that calmness allows you to make better decisions in relationships, business, and personal growth. You start trusting yourself more, and when you trust yourself, the world starts trusting you too. That's why grounded men often appear more confident and attractive without trying. They carry a frequency of trustworthiness that others can feel. Another core part of a grounded lifestyle is alignment, living in harmony with your values and actions. Many people feel anxious or restless because there's a gap between what they say they believe and how they actually live. The more you close that gap, the more peace you feel. If you say honesty matters, you tell the truth even when it's hard. If you value growth, you surround yourself with people and environments that challenge you to improve. Every time you live in alignment, your confidence strengthens because your actions reinforce your integrity. And integrity is one of the rarest and most attractive qualities anyone can have. It signals maturity, depth, and authenticity. When you live grounded, rejection doesn't shake you, failure doesn't define you, and success doesn't inflate you. You learn to appreciate highs without clinging to them and face lows without collapsing. That emotional equilibrium makes you resilient. You stop overreacting to what happens and start focusing on how you respond. This mindset shift brings freedom because you no longer let temporary emotions control permanent decisions. You begin to see life as a flow instead of a fight. You stop trying to control outcomes and focus on mastering your input, your effort, your mindset, your reactions. That level of control is quiet, powerful, and deeply respected. Grounded men also understand the importance of solitude. Time alone isn't isolation, it's recalibration. It's how you process your thoughts, release mental clutter, and reconnect with your core values. Without solitude, you lose your sense of direction because you're constantly influenced by noise and opinions. Taking time to disconnect allows you to reconnect with yourself. And that's where balance comes from. You start making decisions that align with your truth rather than pressure. You stop chasing trends or validation and start moving with purpose. A man who enjoys his own company radiates completeness, and that completeness draws people, and naturally attraction built on grounding lasts because it's not driven by superficial charm or temporary excitement. It's based on stability and respect. A grounded man doesn't need to manipulate or perform to create attraction. His presence itself becomes the magnet. Women feel secure around him because his energy communicates consistency. He doesn't say one thing and do another. His calmness under pressure, his discipline, and his sense of direction all make him dependable. And dependability creates emotional safety, the foundation of real connection. That's why attraction born from groundedness endures long after initial excitement fades. Living grounded also transforms how you handle conflict. Instead of reacting impulsively, you listen, analyze, and communicate clearly. You don't avoid tough conversations, but you don't let them escalate unnecessarily. You understand that staying calm doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're in control of yourself. That level of self-control commands respect even in disagreement. People feel they can reason with you because you don't attack, you address. You don't judge, you observe. This maturity makes you stand out in every kind of relationship because you bring peace instead of tension. Grounded living isn't just about emotions, it's also about practical balance. You manage your time, finances, and health with mindfulness. You know when to work hard and when to rest. You don't burn yourself out chasing productivity because you understand that success without peace is still failure. You maintain your boundaries because you know energy is limited and must be directed wisely. You invest in what truly matters, your growth, your relationships, your purpose. This creates a sense of order that others can feel. It shows that you're not just surviving life, you're mastering it intentionally from a psychological view. Grounded people demonstrate what's known as an internal locus of control, the belief that they have power over their responses and choices regardless of circumstances. This belief creates resilience because it removes the victim mindset. Instead of saying, life happens to me, you start saying, life responds to me. That small shift changes your entire outlook. You begin to see every challenge as an opportunity to grow stronger. People respect that kind of energy because it's empowering and rare. It shows you're not controlled by fear or external pressure. You're guided by purpose and self-awareness. When you build your lifestyle around these principles, you naturally rise above superficial patterns of behavior. You stop needing constant stimulation or validation. Your relationships become deeper because they're built on understanding instead of dependency. You start valuing peace over drama, growth over comfort, and quality over quantity. Every aspect of your life begins to reflect that calm strength, from your conversations to your posture to the way you handle setbacks. You carry yourself with quiet assurance, and people feel that. They might not always be able to describe it, but they know they can count on you because your energy doesn't shift with the wind. Respect grows when people see you stand firm in your values. The world is full of men who bend under pressure, who lose integrity when tempted by ease or approval. The grounded man doesn't. He stands on principle even when it's inconvenient. That doesn't mean he's rigid or unbending. It means he has a moral compass. He's flexible enough to learn but firm enough to stay true. That's the kind of man people follow, trust, and love deeply because they know his word means something. Respect, once earned through that consistency, becomes lasting. It's not something you demand, it's something you embody. Even your energy changes when you're grounded. Your presence becomes calm but powerful, gentle but strong. You don't have to chase opportunities. They begin to come to you because stability is magnetic in an unstable world. The more you cultivate inner peace, the more outer success aligns naturally. This doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means you become unshakable within it. You start to flow through challenges with patience. You attract people who value growth and depth, and you inspire others to find their own balance. That's how a grounded lifestyle quietly transforms everything around you. It's not loud, but its impact is undeniable at its core. A grounded life is a life of awareness. You're aware of your emotions without drowning in them. You're aware of your thoughts without believing all of them. You're aware of your goals without attaching your worth to them. That awareness brings peace, and peace, when practiced daily through your habits, speech, and presence, becomes the foundation of respect. When you live from that place, you no longer chase attraction, you embody it. You no longer seek approval, you attract it naturally. You no longer force respect, you earn it effortlessly through the steadiness of who you are.